suggest you just run.
Say
1, 2.
The movie begins with Tom Dolan, a famous professional thief called the In-N-Out Bandit. Over the past 6 years, he has robbed 8 banks in different states. Each robbery was carefully planned, leaving no clues, and the police have no idea who he is. Tom often visited a storage facility to keep the money he stole. The receptionist there was Annie Wilkins, a young woman who had just graduated with a degree in psychology. After meeting several times, they became close and started to develop feelings for each other. After a year of dating, Tom felt even more attracted to her. Tom wanted to take their relationship further, so he suggested buying a house and moving in together. Annie happily agreed, even though she was still healing from her divorce and the pain of her past relationship. What she didn't know was that Tom was keeping a big secret. He had once been a famous thief. Tom had fallen deeply in love with Annie and wanted to live an honest life with her. To do that, he decided to turn himself in to the FBI the next morning. He contacted them and admitted he was a famous bank robber who had stolen over $9 million from 12 banks in 7 states. He spoke with Agent Sam Baker and made a deal. He would give back all the stolen money in exchange for a lighter sentence, 2 years in a minimum security prison near the city, with full visitation rights. Tom's goal was clear. He wanted to change his life for Annie. Tom wanted to show Annie that he really wanted to live an honest life with her. But Agent Baker didn't fully trust him. The FBI had received many false confessions from people claiming to be the In-N-Out Bandit, so Baker wasn't sure Tom was telling the truth. Still, he agreed to meet Tom at the Charleston Hotel the next day and assigned the case to 2 agents, John Nens and Ramon Hall, to investigate. 2 days passed with no word from the FBI, leaving Tom frustrated. He called again and spoke with Agent Sean Mayers, who said the case had already been given to 2 capable agents, and then quickly hung up. Right after Tom hung up the phone, someone knocked on the door. He opened it and saw 2 agents, John Nens and Ramon Hall, standing there ready to hear his confession in person. Tom Dolan was then taken into custody and asked to give detailed information about the robberies to prove his identity. He explained that he had chosen small banks with deposits going back to the 1950s. These banks often had empty buildings next door, which allowed him to drill through the shared wall and get into the vault. Tom also said that he had done the robbery on a Friday night. He used gelatin to loosen the bolts and nuts, drilled into the safe, and then patched the wall to hide any evidence. The agents made it clear that before thinking about any plea deal, they had to check that everything he said was true. They needed to find out where the stolen money was hidden. Tom gave them the address of the storage unit where he had kept it and offered to go with them. But Agent Ramon refused, took the keys from Tom, and told him to stay at the hotel while he and John went to get the money. When they arrived, John suggested keeping the cash for himself to pay off his mortgage and help his son with college instead of turning it in as evidence. Ramon, however, stuck to his principles and refused to go along with Joan's plan. Meanwhile, Tom waited nervously at the hotel when, unexpectedly, Annie showed up. She mistook Joan and Ramon for Tom's old friends, as they had deliberately given that impression, and both went along with it. Annie was happy to hear that Tom was planning to move into the house they had talked about, then left to meet him at the hotel. At the same time, Myers told Baker about Tom's confession, making Baker believe no one else was involved. Joan and Ramon decided to hide the money in a secret place before returning to the hotel, where Annie had just arrived. Ramon confirmed that they had found the money. At that moment, John planned to kill Tom to hide his crime. Just as Joan was about to act, Tom said that they had only recovered $3 million from the storage unit and that $6 million were still missing. When Joan asked Tom about the rest of the money, Agent Baker suddenly appeared, shocked to see John pointing a gun. Joan kept his plan secret from Baker and used a gun to force Ramon inside. A struggle broke out, and John shot and killed Baker. Tom tried to stop him, but both Tom and Joan fell out of a window. Seeing Annie scared, Tom told her to run to safety. Tom and Annie had to flee as John and Ramon fired at them, but they managed to escape. During the chase, John and Ramon realized that Tom had taken Ramon's gun, making it harder for them to keep chasing. Annie is confused by all the chaos and asks Tom to explain what is happening. He tells her he will explain everything once they are safe.
Not anymore.
Anything?
While hiding, Tom opens up to Annie about his criminal past. He says he has never killed anyone or spent any of the stolen money. Tom explains that he turned to crime after his father was unfairly fired and had his pension taken by the company's executive. His father couldn't handle the loss of his wife or the fact that justice was never served for her. Haunted by this grief, Tom gradually started robbing banks to get revenge and feel the thrill. But after meeting Annie, he began to rethink his choices and wanted to change his life. Annie was the reason Tom hadn't committed another robbery for a whole year. When Agent Myers returned to the Charleston hotel, she was shocked and upset by Baker's death and promised to find the killer. Worried that Annie might get caught up in the danger, Tom urged her to leave town to stay safe. Meanwhile, Joan told Myers about Baker's death and blamed Tom, claiming that nothing had been found in the storage unit. Before leaving, Tom and Annie said their goodbyes. Annie got on a bus, telling Tom to prove his innocence, and they parted with heartfelt and painful farewells. The next morning, Myers, John, and Ramon went through Tom's file and the security footage and recognized Annie. They talked about her recent divorce, and Myers ordered them to find Tom. Meanwhile, Annie called Tom from the storage facility to tell him that the CCTV footage showed Joan and Ramon taking boxes from his unit. She had gone back to make a backup copy of the evidence before it was erased. Tom told her to leave immediately and call 911. But he decided to go to the facility himself. Just as Annie was about to leave the office, something unexpected happened. Joan arrives and demands that Annie tell him where Tom hid the remaining $6 million. When Annie tries to run, Joan attacks her and looks for the memory card with the CCTV footage. Annie fights back with a pair of scissors, but Joan knocks her out. Ramon then shows up, stops John, and tells him to leave before anyone finds out. Later, Tom reaches the storage facility, finds Annie hurt, and rushes her to the hospital. He quickly left the hospital to avoid the police. In the car, he called the FBI agent and used Myers to contact John, secretly listening to their conversation. Joan pretended he didn't know anything about Annie. Curious about the situation, Myers decided to visit Annie at the hospital, while Tom stayed outside on the street. A local police officer spotted Tom and started chasing him. Joan and Ramon, who had been following him, also headed toward his location. Tom drove away and hid behind some bushes. Where he saw Joan and Ramon backing their car and unaware they were walking into his trap. Joan opened fire and Tom shot back. Meanwhile, Myers saw Tom and started chasing him again. Tom lured Myers into an ambush, leading to a tense hand-to-hand fight.
Kill my son of a bitch!
Tom accused John and revealed that John had attacked Annie. He disarmed Myers, even though Myers told him to turn himself in and promised to help him get a fair trial. But Tom decided to take matters into his own hands. He threw Ramon's gun to Myers as proof of his claim, then left the hotel and escaped into the night. Tom called the hospital where Annie was being treated and was told that she couldn't speak yet, but her condition was expected to improve soon. Meanwhile, John went to the hospital to make sure Annie was dead, but he didn't act when he saw Myers in her room. The next morning, Myers confronted Joan, doubting Tom's story and asking him about the stolen money. Joan tried to hide the truth, but Myers wasn't convinced. He gave the gun back to Ramon and told Joan and Ramon to continue with their assignment. Ramon was still obsessed with his selfish goal, but he also worried that Myers might find out. That night, Tom decided to follow him home. Ramon's wife noticed his anxiety and urged him to do the right thing. Even while keeping his secret, Ramon told her that everything he had done was for her and their children, and asked her to remember that if anything ever happened to him. Suddenly, the sound of the garage door opening made Ramon tense. Tom appeared, disarmed Ramon, and demanded his help to clear his name. No longer wanting to be controlled by John, Ramon started to tell the truth. He had secretly taken the security footage from Annie's storage unit, which John didn't know about. He warned Tom that Joan was planning to kill Annie and urged him to save her. Tom immediately went to the hospital, made sure Annie was safe, and quietly brought her back to his hotel room the next morning. While buying equipment at a hardware store, Tom called Myers and told him that Annie was with him. He assured Myers that she had nothing to do with his plan. Although Myers sounded worried, Tom was determined to carry it out. He then went back to his hotel room and started assembling a bomb. The next day, Annie had recovered and wanted to leave the place with Tom. Tom called Joan and demanded that he admit his wrongdoing. Angry, Joan threatened Tom and tried to force him to leave. Tom started counting down from 10, making Joan panic, thinking an explosion was about to happen. When Tom reached the final seconds, Joan's house suddenly caught fire. Joan had to jump out to escape the flames and the danger. Tom gives Annie the security camera memory card he took from Ramon and asks her to pass it on to Myers. Meanwhile, John returns to the hideout and calls Ramon, asking him to meet him at the warehouse. Myers receives the memory card from Annie, and she tells him that Tom is a good person. To prove it, Tom unlocks a secret room, revealing the remaining $6 million. At the same time, John, armed with 2 guns, prepares to confront Ramon, unaware that Tom is secretly watching him. Tom pretended to take Ramon hostage to confront Joan and make him drop his gun. He revealed that he had the security memory card. Angry at Ramon's betrayal, Joan attacked him, and Ramon was shot dead. Joan then turned on Tom, and a gunfight started. Joan escaped with the money while Tom was injured. Tom called Joan and told him that he had placed a pressure-sensitive bomb under his car seat. Trapped inside the car, John had to wait for the bomb squad to arrive. Meanwhile, Tom took the recording of Joan's confession from Ramon's body and mourned his death. When Myers and the police surrounded Joan's car, the bomb squad found out that the bomb was fake. Joan became furious and was caught by Myers while trying to steal the money. Back at the office, Myers found an envelope with a recording that proved John was the thief and Ramon's killer. Later, Myers met Annie and thanked Tom for helping bring John to justice. Tom accepted responsibility for his actions, turned himself in, and said he wanted to become a better person. Myers promised to do everything he could to help reduce Tom's sentence, knowing that Tom really wanted to change. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like to support the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos.